let's give our listener in Lagos on Super FM 92.7 an opportunity to also see that glimmer of hope. And that's why you're here. So, 2024 in review, you've given like quite the background. We saw the, of course, 2023 introduced us to the fuel price, the removal of subsidy, and that which increased in exponentials. We also did see the floating of the naira in 2024. We saw that the buying power of the average man went from maybe it just reduced by 100% or if not more.
Correct.
And we saw food inflation rise. We saw the fact that a couple of businesses started to. It was already happening before 2024, but then we saw a couple of it just, pull out. And then the ones that didn't pull out, we saw something that happened with the land back conversation and some of those things. How is it then that people are still going to be able to thrive in 2025?
Thank you very much. Now, it's also important to state that, yes, we've had some tough times. But again, being a student of history, I know that recessions and tough times are very, very seasonal and cyclical. Basically, I was born in the 80s, and and of course in the late 80s, I saw some policies that really affected my parents. I saw them struggle, basically. So this tough times are really not peculiar to this time. It's a cycle. The same way we've come into it, we're going to get out of it.
Really?
Exactly. Because it's like. Someone said the tough times don't last, forever. So it won't last forever. It's a cycle, and of course we've seen even from the indices are looking up. The policies were tough. Yes, we've been the poverty capital of the world, and this made it worse. However, there is some ray of hope. We're hopeful the things are going to get better. We've also had some improvement. And we expect that this is going to scale. We're going to see more of this. Going into this year, basically.
Okay. So going into this year, let's talk about some financial planning tips, because of course that's an integral part of what you do, and it's work. You do this. Coaching people about their finances, coaching organizations, and talking about the fiscal policies. Yes, this happened from the government, but this is how to navigate these murky waters. Like you said, in the 80s, we saw a great recession as well. And early 2000s, we saw some recession as well. 2010s, we saw some recession. But then, let's now financially plan as business owners and as household people.
Thank you very much. Now, in recession times like this, it's important that we review our lifestyle and our business environment. Okay. Now, it's very simple. To have enough excess, which we call profit, you need to manage your top line, which is your revenue, ensure that increases, and while you also manage your expenses. The difference is what is going to give you what we call profit, or excess or extra or surplus, basically. So in times like this is not the time for frivolities. This is really the time to look for every way to cut costs, such that you can have some excess, basically. It's also a time to increase our earning power.
Okay.
So for businesses, it's a time to look for opportunities for diversification. And for individuals, you need to begin to look for how you're going to add additional skill, how you're going to, get some additional income opportunity.
Stream,
Because basically, I begin to see that, yes, the career world today seems like, there are no jobs, but there are indeed new jobs.
There are new jobs, but they've been a lot of cutbacks. Since you mentioned the career world, there have been a lot of cutbacks on staff strength in certain organizations. We've seen people talk about the fact that organizations can no longer have this staff strength. They are replacing what they can replace with maybe AI and even tech and the likes, or remote workers who don't have to be there and earn so much. So how do we then balance all of this? Because if the companies are looking to maybe manage costs, I'm thinking they would be looking at who is not contributing their most, or who seems vestigial to the direction we're going right now. How well do we navigate some of those concerns?
Yes. So in the midst of all of this, there are new opportunities. There are new skills that are required that we need to onboard and get in. So you mentioned AI. AI is a big deal. It's still very, very, I still at the very, very initial stage here.
Yeah.
But basically, it's something that, and I don't think we should also see AI as
a threat.
Replace exactly as a threat or replacing humans. The good thing, yes, it will, but the good thing is that it's still going to work on people. So you're getting it. Now, AI will only replace people that have refused to adopt AI.
Okay.
Yeah. So now, in the place of AI, it's important for every business holder to look at how it's going to leverage AI, to improve its business. As a career person, I need to begin to look at how I'm going to leverage AI to improve on my skills, exactly, and my deliveries, basically. So that's how we should see it, because it's a big deal. This has come, even in a day-to-day. How do I leverage it? I'm a graphic designer. How do I leverage AI? I write. I'm a content creator. How do I leverage AI? Because I was talking about new jobs being created. There are some jobs today that we never had 10 years ago.
Yeah.
And this speaks to the fact that it means that the skill set is also changing in the workplace, in the business place. And so if someone is stuck in what he learned in school some 15 years ago, you are really going to be stuck for a long while. It's important that you begin to take courses, add value. Just get on YouTube, invest time in ourselves, learn new things. A lot of materials, new things, new information that will aid us and aid our businesses.
Okay, so aiding our businesses and aiding ourselves, investment options in 2025. Because a lot of people were talking about new income stream. We're talking about the fact that you shouldn't sit and just focus on what you learned in school. We're talking about the fact that the buying power. Nigeria is a changing economy, and with it we have to change. So, what are the investment options that are available that you would say, okay, these are the things people should start looking towards? And of course, let's also look at this on the basis of there's not so much financial wherewithal to do this, but then how can we, despite all of this, invest?
Thank you very much. Now, I need to say that in the midst of all of this, we've talked about the need to cut excesses, basically. And this is a time in which we need to go very hard on ourselves. We need to spend on only the necessities.
Okay.
And there's a principle of life whereby we talk about you spending 50% of your earnings on your needs, and the next 30% on your wants, and the last 20% should be on savings and investments. And the place of savings and investment is for you to imbibe the principle of paying yourself first. Yes, because it's really going to we must get a hang of budgeting, or else we're really going to be just be stuck in one spot for a long time. Can I also say this, that we also have to be very, very smart. So, for example, there are mutual funds out there. You talked about investment options. So I think that's the basic and the most elementary that everybody should jump on. Mutual funds, what we call money market funds. This is not the time in which you should put your monies in savings account when inflation rate is over 30%.
Please say that again. I think
this
you should say it again.
This is not the time to put your fund, to leave your fund, your extra funds in savings account when inflation is over 30%. Basically, and the average mutual fund today will give you in the range of 20-22%, per annum, which is far better than
your savings account.
The savings account at 2%, basically, and what's the minimum to even invest in a mutual fund? It's just 5,000 naira.
Wow.
Exactly, and you get that much. And the principle is about the pooling of funds together, basically. And there are licensed money fund managers across the country, who have been licensed by the Securities and Exchange Commission that can manage these funds effectively. That's one way that you really have to look at. Basically, of course, there are other ways. Government is also borrowing through the treasury bills, and the rates are also very high. They're in the 20s, in the range of 20s. Of course, there are also platforms today whereby this can be aggregated, and even with the low amount, you can jump in and up in and take advantage of these opportunities. This is just not the time to just leave things to chance. Basically, we also seen some corporates come to the market, and I mean the capital markets, to raise capital in the form of commercial papers,
Yeah.
bonds, and all of that.
Yeah.
You must do your due diligence. For some of these companies, they offer as high as 31%.
Wow.
Yes, per annum.
But are these things available to the layman to understand, maybe to pick up a pamphlet somewhere and get this information and understand it?
Yes, it is. So the internet today makes the world a global village, basically. You know, so there's information available. You can also engage with your financial advisor,
Okay.
you know, and all of that. Yes, and you get all of this information. It's readily available. That these opportunities are there, you know, and it's just important that we leverage this. Can I also speak to the place of having some form of emergency fund,
Yeah.
basically? Yes, that's also very critical, you know, because of uncertainties. Things happen, you know, and of course, it's important that you have at least 3 to 6 months expense saved up somewhere. Yeah, so that's the kind of fund that should be in the money market fund. And while it's there, it's also accruing, you know, and you're getting some returns on that accordingly.
Okay, so this is still the Business Connection, and we have Biodun Oke here, who is, of course, giving us this update and helping us understand the world of business investment and other things. There are some things that are readily available that we must not ignore. We must not look away from them and miss this opportunity. So, of course, how do you use the internet? What are you searching for? Planning for retirement is one of the things that I'm thinking a lot of people have to do now, because as much as we're talking to the younger generation and talking to the young people who are maybe actively employed right now, making money, some people are nearing retirement, or even right now, we should all be planning for our retirement. What are those things that you said that you would say are the metrics that we should look out for when we are planning for our retirement?
Thank you. Now, for retirement, I don't think that it's too early for anyone to begin to plan for retirement. Basically, you know, it's. I think now is the best time. It's a function now. So let's take the retirement age for example, at 60.
60
so
years.
If it's 60, if you're 30 years old, it appears like you have a lot of time, but you really do not have a lot of time, basically, because I'm sure most of us will recall the year 2000. Basically, that's something.
I had a reunion with my university mates, and we were talking 20 years ago, like we met in 2005, which was 20 years ago.
Imagine how time flies, but it's up to you to be the pilot, and that's really the principle, you know. So it's a time to begin to plan about that time. Basically, you know, I've met people, you know, and some people have that impression that, oh, there's going to be one big break someday, and we'll just have that big money to save for that rainy day.
Yeah.
You know, that time whereby you are not able to actively work as now you are unable to also as you currently do. So it's important we begin to put aside some of our earnings.
Yeah.
Yes, there must be a plan, there must be an objective, you know, and of course towards that objective you begin to plan towards it, begin to put something, you know, towards that. A research carried out for some carried out in Canada, you know, revealed that about 82 people, you know, 82% of the populace have some form of regret, you know, at retirement. People,
wow.
Yeah, so people have that regret that, oh, maybe I didn't start enough, or I didn't save enough, I didn't prepare enough for this season, and this puts a lot of responsibility on us, you know. And I'm sure if you also look around, I'm sure you're going to see some of our uncles or aunts that didn't
plan well as well.
Exactly, and we really don't want to find ourselves in this situation. So it's really important that we take this very seriously. And there are two principles that really strengthen the place of the or retirement, you know, having a flourishing retirement. And first is that it's when you start now and you save over some years, you know, you leverage the principle of compounding interest, you know, whereby your interest also yields interest.
Okay.
Basically, yes. And there's this simple scenario that are done, you know, for someone that saved 500,000 naira every year for 30 years. Save 500,000 every year for 30 years, you know, and at the end of the period, you know, he had 500,000 every year for 40 years, between 25 and 65. He had saved 20 million naira.
Wow.
Yes, he had saved 20 million naira. However, leveraging the principle of compounding interest, that comes to about 140 million naira.
Wow.
Yes. So,
Wow.
So actual savings of 20 million naira, but leveraging compounding interest, that comes to 140 million naira. I think that's a very good
and
amount.
And could be put to any kind of use.
Exactly, basically.
Wow.
And this just speaks to, so the principle of retirement is for you want to start now, and the place of consistency, whereby you're able to leverage the principle of compounding interest.
Okay, thank you so much, Biodun Oke, for making out time to be here today. In case you're listening, this is he's Biodun Oke, the Director of Global Sales, Vetiva Capital Management Limited, and he made out time to be here with us today on the Business Connection to have this conversation. A parting shot within 60 seconds to the person listening right now.
Okay, I will say that to that person, to that business owner there, recessions are seasonal and cyclical. It's not going to be forever, and it's just important that we begin to take advantage of new opportunities around us. There are many new opportunities around us. We might not be able to itemize some of them today, and maybe we have also touched on one or two during this conversation. But it's important that we work smart in this season, and it's also important that we manage debt accordingly, and you manage your risk accordingly, and this is not the best of times to borrow because the interest rates are very high. So you need to pay attention to all of that, except you're able to generate enough returns above the cost of that fund. Basically, there's the place of bad debts and good debts. It's just important that we work extra smart these times, and it's also important that we keep our hopes high, knowing that these tough times will not continue forever. There's going to be an end soon, but we need to prepare for that opportunity that awaits us. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, of course, Biodun Oke, for coming into Super FM 92.7. We are looking forward to maybe having another session really very soon to talk about other things.